Hi everyone, and welcome back to week 2 and our countdown to Christmas. If you're new to the group, welcome. We're spending the next few weeks leading up to Christmas looking at how God predicted Jesus' coming and prepared his people for it, beginning from the earliest pages of the Bible. Christmas is more than about a day. It's a season in which we anticipate Jesus coming just as people waited for Jesus throughout history.
Last week we talked about the story of the fall, how sin entered the world through Adam and Eve, and how God responded with a prophecy that showed he already had a plan to save us. This week we fast forwarded a few thousand years to the time of Abraham. God began telling us about Jesus by making a promise that he would win and Satan would lose. He promised that Jesus would come and conquer sin. Today we're going to look at another promise of God, a promise that will endure for centuries.
That's right. Another word for this promise is covenant. In the Old Testament, at the same time that Abraham was living, covenants were made between people and between countries about really important things. Leaders of tribes might make covenants that they would respect each other's lands, or that if one went to war, the other would join them. These covenants involved animal sacrifices, eating a meal together, and other rituals. And the goal of the whole thing was to make a really serious, significant promise. In fact, the idea was that if one half of the side broke the terms of the covenant, the other side could kill them. That's how important a covenant was.
And the God of the universe makes a covenant like this with a human being. God chooses Abraham and promises that he will bring countless descendants from Abraham. He promises to give him land and promises to be with him and his family no matter what. In Genesis 12, verses 1 to 3, God says to Abraham, "Leave your native country, your relatives, and your father's family, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make you famous, and you will be blessing to others. I will bless those who bless you and curse those who treat you with contempt. All the families on earth will be blessed through you."
This promise is saying much more than just, "I'm going to give you lots of grandchildren and some property." With these words, God is bringing into reality the next steps of his plan, that he will have a chosen people, and that out of these chosen people will come the Savior of the world, Jesus. And notice how God ends this covenant promise. All the families on earth will be blessed through you. Although God is starting with the chosen people, who were later called the Jewish people, his salvation will be for anyone who believes, all families on earth.
A few chapters later in Genesis 15, we even see God making this covenant with Abraham according to the customs of the day, with animal sacrifices and fire, just as the people of the time would have commemorated a covenant. God is incredibly serious about this commitment that he's making to Abraham and Abraham's family. And so he uses the ceremonies Abraham would be familiar with to ensure he understands it. And these promises, this covenant, become the key to the rest of the Old Testament. From this moment on, the Old Testament is the story of Abraham's descendants and how God chose them, protected them, rescued them, and even disciplined them, so he could bring Jesus just at the right time.
Our God is truly a God who keeps his promises. He does create a great nation from Abraham and calls them to be his special people. And as we'll see next week, he continues to work among them to prepare them for Jesus to come. I'm so glad you're joining us in this experience of learning together. Spend a little time talking about these 3 questions today. First, why did God use the covenant ritual to make his promise to Abraham? He's God. Should it just be enough for him to say he's going to do something? And why do you think God wanted an entire nation of people? Why not just have Abraham and Sarah give birth to Jesus? And then before you close, take a minute to reflect on what this story shows us about the character of God. Hey, have a great time in your group, and we look forward to seeing you next week.